It's been a while since we did a electric RZR update, so there's a lot of progress. Why don't you walk us through it?
Yeah, so I think last time we were looking at it, we had everything laid out on the floor over here. So lots changed since then. I guess everything's pretty much mounted now. We've got the actual transmissions all mounted. Drive shafts, drive axles are cut, shortened, fit, kind of. We're gonna see how it actually works out. DC to DC converter is kind of mounted right now. I don't have the connector for it yet, so I'm hoping that it works, but if it doesn't, I'll cut it off and do something else. We've got the motor controller here, battery management system, the main controller for the vehicle. All the batteries are snuck in at the bottom here, and then at the front as well. Makeshift switch panel here so that I could drive it before I was really ready to drive.
So that is the most exciting part. It has driven.
Yes.
It has driven around the block.
3 times around the block, yeah. And the first time it was a hand throttle, so I just strapped the throttle to the battery and then just adjusted by hand. So one hand on the steering wheel, one hand on the throttle. Second time I actually mounted the throttle so we give a little more gas, but everything was still kind of ratchet strapped and duct taped in. So it was a slow drive, but everything feels good. It runs really smooth. Nothing surprising, so didn't have to get towed home the first time. That's always good.
What are you working on today? What are we accomplishing?
Yeah, so the first 2 drives I did, there was no liquid cooling in the system. So with the system that I have set up, the charger requires cooling, the motor controller requires cooling, the motor requires cooling, and the DC to DC converter also requires cooling. So I'm going to use the stock RZR cooling system, so the radiator and whatnot. I'm going to put my own pump on it and adapt it in so I can get the radiator cooling from the front to cool all the different components, which is going to be important for actually driving it hard next time we take it out. I think the biggest pain was that the first time I mounted the transmission, I set it in, got it all set up, thought it looked really good, welded everything in, painted everything, and then realized that my differential was really high compared to where the suspension's arms are. And you can see it still is pretty high, but basically I had the whole thing mounted an inch higher than it is now, which made my axle shaft angle super steep. And so as it travels through the suspension, it really changes the length of the axle. And so I was actually fully compressing the axle at full bump and separating the axle at full droop. And like you can see now, so I went through and actually recut my mounting bracket at the bottom, got that welded back in, ended up adding some spacers in here to drop it down at the top. And now we can be at full droop and the axle still spins. So it's not falling out anymore. Before it was actually, you wouldn't be able to spin it, the axle would separate out. So it's not great where it is, but it's as low as it can go without being below the bottom of the frame. So that was probably the biggest pain in the butt, is thinking that I was all done and then standing behind it looking at it like, oh, wow, that's way too high. So now then having to go back through and do all that again. But everything's generally, been a pain like any fabrication goes. Like, it's all super close. You can look at on the inside here, how close the motor controller cooling lines are to the motor. It's all super tight. The motor controller to the batteries has less than a 1/4 inch of clearance there. Battery mounting itself is really tight, so it just barely fits inside of the 2 main support rails from the RZR. The lower batteries weren't too bad. I actually had, you can see a full 1.5 or 2 inches of extra space at both sides, but we were able to fit the full 40 kilowatt hours of batteries in it and get it all wired up to the battery management system. So it all went relatively smoothly.
Yeah, I just don't remember when we filmed that first update. It was probably
I think it was in December. Yeah. 6 months.
6 months of work.
Yeah. Hope to be done a little sooner, but since it just snowed today, it's not summer yet. So, and I did drive it before summer, so that's good. The things that I still have to do on it, obviously cleaning up all the wiring is going to be a big deal. I've got to wire in the charger itself. We've just got the loose cables hanging out here. I've got to put the front cover onto the battery, so it looks pretty iffy, but all the voltage taps are all wired in here. But I've got a lid that fits on this, so basically loosen it up, slide the lid on and close it up so it stays fairly watertight. I don't think I want to go underwater with it, but it should be able to drive through puddles and stuff. Okay. Have you ever submerged your Miata?
No, who knows what the guys before me have done. It doesn't interest me. Like, I want to be on motocross tracks and desert type stuff. I don't really want to risk any creek crossing type stuff. No.
With Jeeps, it's like a big deal. Like, everybody likes to drive across, big old deep creeks, and I'm not that excited about that with the electric RZR.
No, with the Subarus, it was fun. Like, we built the snorkel.
Yeah, right.
For the Gambler, yes. For stuff that we care about, no.
I think it's going to be really fun to take it out to the motocross track and the Miata cross track and rip it around, jump it a little bit, see how the weight distribution is.
I wonder what the weight is compared to, I mean, it's got to be a couple 100 pounds heavier, right?
I would think a couple 100 pounds heavier. When I set it down, like fully loaded up like this, it actually sits pretty close to, like, it looks level. So I think it's pretty close. It's still within like the realm of what they expected in it. Maybe that's with 100 pounds of gear in the back or something, but it's not like it's sagging way down in the back. It actually sits pretty nice. Mm-hmm. And the great thing too about these coilovers is they're like fully adjustable, so I can crank them up or down.
Weight all in the back and middle. Like, I think it'll jump really good. Maybe take some adjusting with the shocks, but it should jump really smoothly, levelly. Where mine is just nosediving everything.
Every time, yeah. Yeah, it'll be really interesting to see. Yeah, so driving around the block, it felt really good. I was a little bit hesitant to give it full gas without any of the liquid cooling in there, but it definitely had some good pickup. I'm concerned that it's maybe geared a little bit too high, where, well, since it was built for a road vehicle, is made to go 80 miles an hour, whereas I'm going to be really wanting it in the 30 to 50 miles an hour range. I don't know. But I think it would be fun too to do to actually lower the suspension and set it all the way on the ground, and run road courses and stuff with it, because with the suspension being so adjustable, it's easy to take 2 inches more out of it and set it all the way on the ground, get some street tires on it, and rip some road cars.
That'd be pretty cool. Yeah,
because it should be fast. It should hold up pretty well, nice and light. I mean, I'm guessing it's not much over 1,000 pounds. So 1,000 pounds with 200 foot-pounds of torque and 150 horsepower or whatever, 130 horsepower. It should move.
All right, so I'm going to take my first ride in the electric Porsche Boxster to kind of get a feel for Brian's electric vehicle skills. And we're going to head to the auto parts store, grab some parts for the RZR. This button is just reverse and not?
This is the reverse button.
Wow.
That's it. So you just turn it on like a normal car, and then you just drive. And then when you want to put it in reverse, you hit the button.
Crazy. I guess it makes sense. So you wouldn't need neutral or whatever else?
Yeah.
No gears.
And it's like the 1 foot driving, so when you let off the gas, I'm not hitting the brake, it just automatically goes into regen, so it charges the battery.
So that's what they were saying. The Tesla RZR was hard to get used to that, on the dunes. If you let off, it just slides through the sand. That's what your RZR will be? Same?
Yeah, I mean, you can program it to do however you want to. It's just easier, while you're actually driving, it's nice to not have to move your foot over to the brake. It's a little 7-inch Android tablet that has Bluetooth on it, so it talks to the battery management system, so you can see high cell voltage, low cell voltage, how much battery we have left, how much power is being drawn. So 75 amps while we're cruising, and then while I let off the gas, you can see it actually goes negative and will charge the battery.
We're at a red light. Can we get just a little taste of what it can do?
Sure. Yeah, it's really exciting. So,
is it actually or no?
No, not really. It's okay. It's kind of fun.
It's not a Tesla.
It's not a Tesla.
I mean, it's an average car. Okay.
Average car, yeah. When it changes drastically when it's fully charged versus when it's fully empty. And right now, we're 75%. And so it's about 75% of the power that you get when it's fully charged.
Okay. I don't know what a volt is, but I trust you. You definitely do.
So what I really need is I need to make sure the water gets in here. And then I need to know when this one at the back here should overflow. That's what we're going for, is water coming out of either this or this.
Okay, got the hoses all connected up. Let's see if it holds any water.
Horribly designed coolant system here, because there's like 3 different high points at different areas. There's all sorts of spots for air to get stuck, but I don't need it to work that well. No water out of here?
No water.
That shouldn't be the hardest part.
There's water.
There's water. That wasn't the hose that was supposed to fall off. So this is like the second highest point for the cooling system.
So there's no water coming out in return.
No water coming out here.
So that means the pump is not pumping.
Apparently not. Gotta shake it around, get the air bubbles out. At the seating position, this feels very high tractor rather than like a race car. Like a race car, yeah. This height seems very nice. You know, I have to build a seat.
Take this whole plastic off and then do something like this. And then for Miatas, they call it a foamectomy, where you somehow get the cover off and then cut out a bunch of foam.
Oh, so you sit lower on it.
Yeah.
I wonder, because I want to get new seats for the truck anyway, so maybe I'll take those seats. The problem is these are skinny people only seats. So,
made some good progress today. What do you got left?
Left on the list is rewire everything on the low voltage side, install the seats, mount the switches, and get the ignition to work. And then I think we're good to go. Take it for another spin.
Cool. Well, I can't wait for this thing to be out and the Miata. It's going to be super fun.